So we're going to begin with a short hold practice. And so we're diving straight in without thinking too much about it. We just want to have the experience. So to begin with, we're going to be using a blanket. So I have a blanket that is folded in what is called the Tadasana shape. So there'll be more information in the resources about how to fold a blanket, but we're using the Tadasana shape under the support of where our knees or our hips will be. We're using 2 bolsters if you have them, or a similar pillow. We're using 2 blocks, and we also have an extra piece of soft pillow. You're welcome to just use anything you find around the house. This is just for comfort, so it's not necessarily a requirement. So to begin with our short hold practice, we want to firstly come into our seat. So we want to be still. So you're welcome to be in a seated cross-legged position, or you're welcome to be kneeling like I am. You're also welcome to take a bolster or a block and sit with your hips on the prop to soften the seat, because we will be here for a couple of moments. So as we begin to move towards the practice of a restorative sequence, we'll be really dropping heavily into our seat. So what this means is that if you can begin to notice all the parts of the body that are resting on the floor, so perhaps that's the shin and the top of the feet, maybe the knees, and really dropping your focus into those spaces. If you're able to begin to soften the eyes, you're welcome to begin to allow the outside of the eyes to soften and become blurry, or you can completely close the eyelids. So we're going to continue moving inwards. So we'll begin to start to notice where the hips meet the legs, noticing the feelings of our thighs and our hamstrings, the outer edges of the thighs and our inner thighs. And just allowing each part from the hips all the way to the toes to be really heavy. Allow that seated groundedness to sink into the body, where you don't have to worry about the shape your body is making. It's the experience of heaviness and groundedness that we're aiming for. And see if you can then bring your shoulders to rest above your hips, so you're allowing the torso to be upright. See if you can keep the chest broad, both through the front of the body and the back of the body, allowing there to be a spaciousness within the body. Letting the back of the neck being broad and maybe slightly tucking the chin. We'll begin to move slowly with intention. So see if you can allow your head to begin tilting the chin so it's pointing towards the front of the room. So lifting it up slightly and then tucking the chin so it comes back down to point towards the collarbone. So lifting the chin up, pointing it so it's facing the back of the front of the room. And then tilting the chin so it's down, pointing towards the collarbone. Returning to a neutral position of the neck. Gently beginning to roll into the shoulders, perhaps forwards or backwards, whatever you naturally move towards. If you have anything going on with your shoulders, you can bend the elbows, take the fingertips to the shoulder, and then just moving the elbows. And then reversing the direction. Then allowing the arms to release, so letting go. We'll begin some gentle seated cat-cows. So that will be bringing the chest forward, lifting the head to look up to the ceiling, and then reversing the action, curling and tucking the chin under, pushing the spine back towards the back of the room. Coming forward, expanding the chest, opening up, looking up to the ceiling, and then reversing, curling, tucking the chin, pushing the spine to the back of the room. Coming back to a neutral spine, taking the left hand on the outer side of the left body, reaching the right hand up and over, opening through the right side body. And then we'll push on the left hand, lifting up and over, swapping to the right side, placing the right hand down, opening the left hand up and over. Moving one more time each side, so going back to the left, and then over to the right. Coming back to neutral, we'll take the right hand to the left knee and the left hand behind, looking over the left shoulder. Coming back round, we'll twist to the opposite side, taking the left hand to the right knee and the right hand behind. Coming back through to the left side, taking the left hand behind, right hand to left knee. And then back through to center, right hand behind, left hand to right knee. Coming back through to center. I would like you to reconnect with your sense of base. So come into the position that you were in before, so seated or kneeling or cross-legged. And we'll just rest here, noticing the movement that we've just taken in the body and noticing part of its effects. And see if you can just consciously connect with any sort of inner guidance, or perhaps posing the question to your body and being curious as to what you need out of the practice today, what quality you're looking to cultivate, and allowing the answer to arise however it naturally occurs. Perhaps you hear some words or a sensation, or there's a visual or a memory that comes up. Allowing whatever the answer to be the answer, and holding on to it just for the purpose of this practice. So see if you can stay with that answer or that intentionality and really breathe into that idea, that concept, that intention. And then we'll begin to start to anchor into that in every posture. So whether you're guided to or not, you're welcome to return to your anchor. This is your guiding light, so you're following it as you see fit throughout the practice. So the first posture that I'll be offering for you is a Baddha Konasana, or a seated bound angle pose. So we'll be coming to sit on the ground. If there's any discomfort under the hips, you're welcome to take the pillow underneath the hips. We'll be opening our knees out and bringing out the soles of our feet together. So we're resting the feet gently on the ground, and we're not forcing the outer edges of our knees down. We'll take a bolster, we'll place it into the center of our feet. So if your feet don't quite meet, you can just put the bolster in between the feet as well. And we're bending into the bolster to give it some curve. And then we're taking our forehead to the bolster. So we're allowing the body to be soft. We're allowing our forehead to rest on the bolster. And if it feels good to do so, taking the hands either on top of the bolster to a position that feels comfortable, or the base of the bolster, or anywhere else you feel that the hands are comfortable resting. And just noticing if we can be heavy in our base, allowing our forehead to rest, supported into the bolster, allowing the backs of our shoulders to soften, letting maybe the shoulders drop a little bit more. See if you can find your breath in this posture. Just notice if the breath is comfortable, if there's a feeling of ease. Or perhaps noticing if the breath feels labored or if there's any effort required to feel the breath. And if the breath is difficult for whatever reason, try to soften the posture in a way that helps you to breathe. So perhaps that's lifting the spine, opening the shoulders a little bit. It might mean being more active. But if it's comfortable to breathe and you feel relaxed, soften a little bit more into the posture. As we get ready to move out of this posture, know that there's no rush to move, and you can do so at your own time and pace. And just whenever you're ready to move, meet us wherever you're at. So when we're ready to come out of this particular posture, we might take our hands to the top of the bolster and then hold on to it while we lift the head up. And then unbinding the legs, so opening them up. So we're coming into a wide angled version of the posture. So we're opening up the legs, planting the heels flat on the ground. And then placing the bolster somewhere in the middle. So roughly where our feet would have been last time. And then we're going to take our forehead again to the bolster. And this time, if it's comfortable and the bolster stays, you're welcome to rest your hands on the bolster or rest your arms on your legs. And then pointing the toes up. We're again allowing the head to be heavy, the backs of our shoulders to be soft, letting the shoulders sink a little heavier. Perhaps returning to your intention from the beginning of the practice. And just being curious as to if you can create a little bit more of that quality in this posture. Seeing if you can invite a little bit more into the posture or the breath. Knowing that it's your practice and you have full permission to change it at any time. And as we become a little bit more aware of the body again, knowing that if you're wanting to linger in the posture a little bit longer, you're more than welcome to. But as we get ready to move, again, taking your hands to the bolster, if they're not already there, holding on to the bolster while you lift up your head, moving slowly and mindfully. We'll place the bolster to one side, bringing our legs carefully together, and we'll begin setting up for our short hold child's pose. So we're taking two blocks. One will be on the landscape, which is the portrait, which is the tallest side. And then we'll take another block at the landscape setting. So it's on the longer but shortest setting. And we're placing them just wider than a palm, width apart. Coming to kneeling, we're taking a bolster. I prefer a rounder bolster, but it is up to you and what you have handy. So we'll be taking the bolster, pressing it onto the floor, moving up towards the bolster. Now, if there's any discomfort with kneeling, You're welcome to bring a block or another cushion in between the hips and resting your hips on the bolster. Walking up to the ramp so that when we come down onto child's pose, that we're resting with our belly and our torso on the bolster. And you have the option to turn your head to one side or the other, or you can rest your forehead down, or take your hands to the bolster and rest your forehead on your hands. So as we settle into your version of child's pose, just allowing the body to be soft, allowing there to be a sense of comfort in child's pose or balasana. Again, moving towards your breath, just feeling the breath moving in the body. Noticing if you can feel the breath in the back of the body. And perhaps exploring the breath, seeing if it can be a little bit deeper, and notice the feeling of your body moving into the bolster. Notice the feeling of your breath as it moves the belly. See if you can reconnect with that grounded and heaviness in the hips down to the toes, letting the body be as heavy as it needs to be to feel grounded, not worried about the shape, just the feeling of heaviness, the sense of groundedness. A sense of being rooted in place. If you've had your head to one side, you can now take the option to turn your head to face the other direction. Just know if you don't turn your head, that's okay. Whatever feels more comfortable and supportive for you is the best thing for your practice. See if in the final few moments that we spend in this posture, you can reconnect with that sense of intentionality, that quality you're looking to cultivate in the practice. And then as we are in the final few moments of this particular posture, perhaps feeling the inner urge to move, and if you can connect with that feeling, pressing your palms or forearms into the ground or into the mat. Gently lifting the torso, walking the hands back towards the body. We'll lift our hips, removing the bolster if you had it underneath you. And then walking our knees back. We'll be coming into some twists. So we're wanting to take our hip onto the ground. It doesn't matter which side. It's up to you. But whichever side you choose, find the hip crease, so where the hip meets the top of the thigh, and move that crease to the front of the bolster. You want it to rest so that the crease is touching the bolster, and there's no gap between the hip and the bolster. Then turning to face the torso towards the bolster, and then making sure our legs are comfortable so that when we've fully laid down on the bolster, that there's no need to move. I like to rest the calf of the top leg in the arch of the bottom foot, but any variation that feels good for you is the best version. So as we prepare to settle down, lowering the torso onto the bolster, taking the hands and arms onto the floor and resting our head on the bolster, you have the option to face your head in the same direction as your knees, or you can turn your head to the opposite direction. Just know that whatever feels more comfortable for you is the best choice to make, and that you don't have to take the full head turn in the opposite direction to get the benefits out of this posture. See if you can be soft and kind in the practice, allowing the body to be resting easefully in a way that promotes a soft, helpful breath and a sense of calm in your physical structure. And as we move into the final few moments of this particular twist, just checking in with the body, noticing where you can feel the breath moving. Seeing if you can cultivate any softness in the body, perhaps moving your attention into a space where you either have no sensation or perhaps feelings of resistance or holding. And see if you can consciously invite more comfort and ease into that area of the body. And from here, gently allow the body to come back into the room and bring your attention into the body, pressing into the palms and the forearms, lifting the torso, walking the hands back towards the torso. We'll be turning our hips so that they face the back of the bolster. And again, repositioning so that the front of the crease of the hip and the thigh are at the other edge of the bolster, bending into the knees, taking the calf muscle into the arch if that's comfortable for you, turning the torso to face the bolster, and then lying down on the bolster. Again, you have the option to turn the head on the same direction as the knees or on the opposite direction. Knowing that neither is better, it all depends on where your body is and how you feel in the moment. Feel free to take any adjustment that you need to create more comfort and ease, knowing that just because you've made one choice doesn't mean that you're stuck with that choice for the entire posture. You're welcome to soften or completely change your mind at any time. And while we're on this side of the body, perhaps taking some time to notice if the two sides feel similar or if each side feels different. And perhaps playing with the idea that you can accept that the body feels different depending on what side you're laying on. and seeing if you can avoid trying to make both sides symmetrical. See if you can now take your attention to the breath and just notice one place in the body where you can feel the breath moving. See if you can experience the breath and how does it make you feel. Ideally, you don't want to be looking for a final answer. We're just checking in with right now, how the body feels right now, knowing that it can change and that in this moment there is no goal, no destination. We're just deepening our awareness. And as we move into the final few moments of this particular posture, just knowing that you don't have to rush out of the posture. If your body is feeling like it would like to linger a little while longer, you are welcome to do so. And once you're ready to move, you're welcome to meet us wherever we're at, knowing that if you miss other parts, that it's perfectly fine. The practice is what you needed today. And you're fully empowered and have my full support to choose whatever feels best for you in this moment. So in our own time and in our own way, preparing to move, we'll be pressing into hands and forearms to lift the torso up and walking the hands and arms back towards the body. Again, we'll be taking our back towards the bolster so that there's no gap between the back and our hips. We'll then take our other bolster underneath the space where our legs are. And instead of opening the knees up and bringing the feet together, see if you can just allow the knees to be slightly bent, allowing them to be straight, and then gently open out. Holding on to the bolster behind you, you'll be lowering onto your back and allowing the full body to be supported by the bolster. So it's a gentle heart opener, and then we're able to take our arms out either side. Or you can rest your arms on the hips or on your belly or any other variation that feels good for you. If you would like the support of a pillow behind your head, this is where the pillow can come in handy. Or you can also take the pillow underneath your hips if you would like some more support under your hips. So just noticing if you can allow your full body to be supported by the props, knowing that we'll be here for a few moments and it can take time to adjust to our body being held in a shape. And then connecting our breath with one part of the body. and experiencing the breath as it moves in that part of the body. See if you can begin to notice how it feels to be in your body, fully supported. And then allow your attention to move back to the answer or intention that you had at the beginning of the practice. And see if you can open the body or cultivate a little bit more of the quality that would suit your intention for the practice. And perhaps if that's a little bit abstract, if your intention or quality was maybe a sense of inner peace or peacefulness, just noticing one part in the body that feels comfort and ease and experiencing that in the body can help to really cultivate that quality of awareness of our inner peace or our sense of peacefulness in the body when things work in an easeful and comfortable way. If your intentionality was around acceptance, compassion, or self-love, perhaps noticing somewhere in the body that is not feeling any comfort or is perhaps feeling a slight sense of strain, and see if you can invite softness and support into that area. Allowing the practice to fit what you need rather than you fitting the practice. And as we come into the final few moments of this particular posture, allowing your body to be soft as it moves, knowing that there's no rush and you're welcome to come out at your own time. But when you are feeling ready to move, we'll bring our hands next to the body, pressing our palms into the floor, lifting the torso up off the bolster, perhaps removing the bolster underneath the knees. Having a breath in a seated position. And then we'll begin to move into our back bends. So there's no rush when we're transitioning between postures. We're being compassionate and kind to our bodies and allowing space in between the postures. So the first back bend is actually quite a simple looking back bend, but can be quite nice to experience. So we'll come to the edge of the blanket, so our hips are right on the edge. We'll press our heels and our outer edge of the feet and the top of the feet into the mat. And then gently walking our hands backwards to recline back onto the mat. So ideally we want our scapula, so the bra line or the back body where the scapula, the bottom of our angel wing. So at that edge we want to rest just off the blanket, allowing our shoulders to be heavy on the floor, and then allowing our arms to be open either to the side or taking them to the hips or palms down either side of the body. And from this place, just resting into the slight back bend of this particular posture. For some people, this will feel quite profound or like a big shift. So allowing that the experience can be subtle, or it might be quite a deep experience. But begin to fine tune your awareness to the places that are resting on the ground. So that will likely be the palms, the hips, anywhere along the back, the upper shoulders, the back of the head, the arms, especially upper arms, elbows, perhaps forearms and hands if they're also resting on the ground. And really develop that sense of groundedness again. And from this place of groundedness, see if you can move your attention into the head and the upper chest. And just from this space in the body, notice if you can feel a downward flow of prana or energy. And by downward, I mean from your knees, through the thighs, into the belly, along the belly into the chest, and from the chest into the head. Even on a subtle level, just noticing if this is a slight downward flow. And to come out of this particular posture, even though it might not feel like an intense posture, we still want to be tender and kind with our body. So by pressing into our hips and our feet, maybe taking our hands and our forearms to the ground, lifting up, and perhaps either straightening the legs out in front of you or sitting cross-legged just for a moment to have a breath or two before we begin to move to the next posture. So the next variation is a little bit of a deeper back bend. We'll be taking a bolster in the long way. If this doesn't feel particularly supportive for you in this way, we'll be taking the other bolster in a T. So from here, I'm actually using the blanket as the place where my shoulders will land. This bolster, I'm going to rest my scapula on the outer edge. And so to come into the posture, I'm going to take my hips onto the bolster, lower my back onto the ground, again focusing on my shoulders resting on the ground and the back of the head. I then have the option to keep my knees bent, and if there's anything going on with your lower back, this can be a nice comfortable option. If you would like to extend your legs, you're welcome to bring the thighs together, resting them on the bolster. So if this doesn't feel good and you would like the T option, it's the same positioning of the back, so we're taking the scapula to the edge of the T bolster. So you would come to sit on the long bolster again. And then your scapula rest off the edge of the T bolster. And then you're welcome to leave your knees bent or bring your thighs together and lengthen the legs. From here, you're welcome to open the arms out to the side, rest them on the bolster, or any other variation that feels good for you. So back bends can allow for an increase of blood flow from above the heart into the head, and this can temporarily feel a little discomfort or feel like a little bit uncomfortable. See if you can slow your breath or reassure your body. Invite a sense of calmness and softness. Let your body know that there is no restriction to stay. If at any time it doesn't feel good, you're welcome to bend your knees and then roll to one side to come off the bolsters. But whilst you're here, soften the breath and allow the body to become pliable over the bolsters. Allow the chest to be broad. Allow the arms to be open. And allow the back to rest heavily, the top of the shoulders and the back of the head to be grounded safely into the floor. Connect with at least one part of the body where there's breath, and notice the feeling of the breath moving in this part of the body. And then return to the intentionality or the sankalpa that you cultivated at the start of the practice. And see if you can invite more of that quality or more of that intentionality into the practice. Remembering that it's your own practice and you have full empowerment to make whatever decision or choices you need, and that you have my full support to do that in any way that makes the practice more comfortable and creates more ease in your body. And as the back bend starts to soften the back a little bit more, just noticing if there are thoughts or memories or sensations or emotions that begin to arise. And being compassionate with yourself, knowing that there's nothing that you need to change. Allowing whatever arises to be as it needs to be. and softening the breath and softening the hold in the body as much as possible. And when you're ready to start moving out of the posture, knowing that there's no need to rush, you're welcome to bring your feet flat on the ground either side of the bolster. And no matter what variation of bolster you chose, whether it's the long bolster or the T shape, we're going to gently roll off to one side. So if you're pregnant or have blood pressure issues, left is always best. So we're coming off the bolster and we're lying on our side for a breath or two. Just allowing the spine to settle after any shapes that we make that may be slightly different to our normal upright position. The spine needs a small amount of transition just to come out of that shape and calmly re-enter a regular, long, and slightly curved shape. So breathe softly into the full capacity of your lungs, letting the lungs massage the ribs, the spine, move the diaphragm, and gently massage the belly organs. And as we begin to get ready to move into our final posture, we'll be pressing our hands into the ground and coming back up to a seated position. And we'll be setting up for our traditional Shavasana shape. So moving any props that you don't need out of the way. I like to rest a bolster under my knees. And I'll be taking the blanket to the top of the mat to rest my head on. So I'll bring my hips just above the bolster, bending my knees and placing my feet on the other side of the bolster, reclining back, my upper shoulders and my head to be heavy. Allowing the back of my head to rest comfortably on that blanket. Taking any adjustments so that as I settle in, I feel comfortable and supported whilst I'm here. Allowing the front and back of my shoulders to be broad and open. Taking the hands out, resting the palms down on the floor. Placing the backs of the hands down on the floor, palms open to the ceiling. Maybe taking a few movements to wiggle or settle into space. Letting the heels, hips, and the back of the shoulders rest comfortably into the floor. Allowing a sense of stillness to start to come into the body. See if you can find your breath again. Notice where in the body it's moving. And see if you can experience that breath in a different way. So noticing on the inhale what happens, if the body moves or if there's sensation. And then conversely on the exhale, noticing the sensations or the movement in the body as the breath leaves that space. And then gently bringing your attention into that space between the brows, resting your focus in this area. And from this place in the brow center, allowing your attention to slide into the back of your head. And as your attention moves, see if you can encourage your brain to slightly shift down into the back of the head. Notice how it feels to try and create that movement. And seeing how it feels to observe your body in your experience from this place, rested firmly in the back of the head as it rests on the ground. I invite you to return back to your intention that you cultivated at the start of the practice, and see if you can be open to that intention, allowing it to enter this part of the practice. Being conscious and aware of what it is that you're trying to cultivate in the practice. And then perhaps reflecting on how you were able to cultivate that throughout the practice so far. And seeing if in the last few moments we can again connect with the intentionality and cultivate a little bit more of that quality or that intention in the way that we are in Shavasana. So perhaps allowing my voice to bring your awareness back into your body. Noticing if you happen to drift outside of your body for a few moments, and accepting however you spent your Shavasana was the right way for you to spend it in that moment. And in this moment, accepting and having loving kindness to wherever we are in the practice. See if you can begin to allow your breath to become a little deeper and a little longer. Perhaps as your breath starts to deepen, you feel that inner urge to move. And if it feels comfortable to do so, moving your fingers and hands, perhaps curling wrists and ankles, circling them. And if it feels good for you, allowing the body to take an all-over body yawn. So stretching the arms up behind the head and the feet and heels in the opposite direction. And then allowing the hands to come back towards the body. Taking the feet to the bolster or the floor, depending on if you used a bolster or not. And then rolling to one. If you're unsure, or if you're pregnant or have blood pressure issues. And taking a breath on the side to rest before coming up. And then gently we'll begin to press our palm into the earth and lifting our torso up, coming to seated. So you're welcome to cross your legs or come to kneeling, whatever feels more comfortable for you in the practice. Trying to stay as soft and within as possible. Knowing that even as we move towards the end of the practice, that our path of yoga doesn't finish the minute we get off the mat, it continues. So if we can stay within a little bit longer, we can continue the depth of our practice as we begin to move. So as we sit in awareness, you're welcome to take your hands to your knees or legs, whatever feels more comfortable. If you choose prayer or hands over heart, anything that feels comfortable and is natural to you to close out a practice. I would invite you to go within to your body and particularly into the heart space if that's available for you. And to rest your awareness here. I hope that as we move through the world that we have a more compassionate stride. And I hope that as we walk through the world, we smile a little softer at the strangers that we meet. Thank you for allowing yourself to have the experience of this short hold practice. I'd like to invite you to now, in your own time, slowly get your journal out and we will begin to reflect on the practice that we've just taken. So you can refer to the journal prompts, but what we're looking for in this moment is we're trying to reflect on the practice and the experience that we've had and seeing if a short hold practice is beneficial or helpful for us. Or if it wasn't, reflecting on what was unhelpful or wasn't supportive for you. Perhaps any questions about the practice or your experience, also making note of those. Essentially, we're writing a review of our experience in a way that we want to better know ourselves and our relationship to restorative. And because this is your journal, allow yourself to get really deep into it. It can be stream of consciousness. It can be something that you probably wouldn't say out loud to someone else, but is safe to write down. And then maybe later, if you get a chance to read it, having a moment to reflect on what you've wrote and whether that was true in the moment or true overall. So dive deep in your reflective process, knowing there's no right or wrong, that this is part of your journey into being authentically representative, an authentic representation of the yoga that you're learning in this course. Thank you.